I am very pleased that we are looking at this topic. ICSAN is a hub of governance professionals, and that is why we find it very necessary to continuously come up with topics that would continue to capacitate our members. So this is another opportunity for our members to join us from any part of the world, just like we are joining you from Kuala Lumpur this evening. And we really, really look forward to very engaging and enriching discussions. Thank you so much to my fellow governance professionals and charter secretaries for joining the call. I hope I haven't taken too much time. I tried to rush the speech. And on this note, I would like to once again thank the organizing committee. Mrs. Nkechi Onyenso, FCIS, is the chairman of the Publicity and Advocacy Committee. Thank you for all the great work you do with your team. We truly appreciate it. I would like to thank the honorary treasurer who is holding forth for us over there. He's going to be making the vote of thanks on behalf of Madam VP at the end of the program. Fellow corporate governance professionals, please sit back, relax, and enjoy what I believe will be a very insightful and rewarding session. On that note, I have the privilege and honor to declare 2024 the conversation open. Thank you so much, everyone, for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Amiable President, the first female president, chairman of council of the Institute of Charter Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, Mrs. Fumi Ekundayo, FCIS. So we go on straight to the program now, and before the facilitators take charge, I would like to quickly introduce them. I need that boulder. Okay, so first, well, one of our facilitators in no particular order, we have Mr. Bolaji Osho, ACIS. Mr. Osho holds almost 3 decades experience working in the private sector and consulting for state governments. He is a specialist in budget management, corporate governance, and critical technology implementation. He comes with various solutions and insights on budget management, technology, and the risk attached with financing and budget management. Thank you very much. He's the principal of Skills Future Consulting. Thank you so much, Mr. Shaw, for joining us this morning. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you very much, Nkechi.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nkechi. Thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. It's always good to have you on. And I would not let you go through without mentioning the fact that you were my teacher many, many years ago when I was trying to qualify for this certification. So it's appreciated. I look so much forward to hearing you speak today. Again, we have with us Dr. Abiodun Adedipe, FCIB. He brings over 40 years of experience working with top organizations like the World Bank and some prestigious universities. He's an expert sought after by various governments and businesses alike for his insight in optimizing budgets and leveraging technology for smarter financial control. Dr. Adedipe, thank you for joining us, and you're welcome, please.
Thank you so very much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So we will start the program in earnest now. And just casually, Mr. Osho, considering the topic that we're looking at today, which is leveraging technology in budget management, oversight, and enhanced corporate governance, how would you say we can leverage technology in budget management, talking especially as relates to the public sector?
Okay, so Nkechi, let's do a little introspection together. let's start with the why.
Okay.
Why does the public sector need technology in business management? The answer is simple. We currently live in a fast-paced, data-driven business environment. And so the public sector faces the challenge of managing complex budgets, bearing in mind that the federal government has close to 1,000 ministry, departments, and agencies. That's a behemoth. So annual budgets, preparation, passage, and all becomes a major conundrum. So the public sector faces complex budget management, and it also faces the challenge of ensuring legislative compliance and maintaining robust governance framework. So leveraging technology has emerged as a game changer. What challenges? I did say earlier, managing complex budgets, ensuring legislative compliance, and maintaining robust governance framework. So by harnessing the power of innovative tools and digital platforms, the public sector can streamline its financial processes, enhance transparency, and make data-driven decisions with greater accuracy and agility. Specifically to your question, Nkechi, technology enables the public sector to automate budget creation, budget maintenance, budget monitoring, what you call oversight and control, budget tracking, reducing manual effort and minimizing the risk of errors. Now, with the availability of sophisticated budgeting software, the public sector can establish centralized platforms that facilitate collaboration among stakeholders. So imagine 1,000 MDA, okay? So collaboration is key, enhancing comprehensive and accurate view of financial information. Now, in addition to that, technology also provides real-time visibility into financial transactions, okay, allowing for timely and informed decision-making. Automated approval workflows and segregation of duties embedded within digital platforms and systems enhance oversight and control. Conception of estimates in typical budget preparation is usually done at the grassroots and then escalated along the chains of command. So if the process is undertaken manually, you can imagine the transition time between the grassroots to the ultimate person that will sign in a typical ministry, department, and agency. Okay, so as a matter of fact, leveraging manual process in contemporary times leads to lack of process and resource optimization. Okay, so as I close on this, when the public sector embraces technology and incorporates it into its budget processes, the public sector can achieve enhanced transparency, accountability, and efficiency. All this taken together leads to process optimization. And the benefit extends beyond immediate cost savings, actually. Okay, paving the way for improved financial decision-making, strengthened investors' confidence, which is what we so desire, particularly with the economic problem we've had in recent times. Right. And then sustainable growth and development in the society. Nkechi, I yield to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Osho, for that. You're talking about how this will help from the grassroots to the top, because most parastatals are very large. You're also talking about how this will help with budget creation, maintenance, oversight, and control. So my question for Dr. Adedipe is this. Does this also apply to the private sector, or is this just restricted to the public sector? Will the private sector benefit in any way from this technology enhancement in their operations, since it's not necessarily or normally as large as parastatals in the private sector? Dr. Adedipe.
Thank you so very much. In fact, for me, I would say that it is even more important for the private sector. My reason is very simple. Now, governments formulate policies, and I've said it repeatedly over the decades. The actual implementation of budgets will not be successful if it is not properly transmitted to the private sector. And it is not difficult to also see that in the numbers. Take, for example, aggregate all the budgets of the governments in Nigeria, federal, state, local government. When you aggregate everything, it's roughly about 10% of our gross domestic product, which means whatever value those budgets will create, that's assuming they also fund the budgets 100%, which means they are able to borrow enough for those whose revenues fall below the expenditure projections. If they can find the funding 100%, all together aggregated, it is just 10% of our GDP, which means about 90% of the value created in the economy is done by the private sector. So in which case, the success, therefore, of the budget and any other government policy depends largely on what happens in the private sector. Now, that said, now, as Mr. Osho said earlier on, technology is very critical. And of course, it has always been, at the forefront of everything done in the private sector. And I'll put it simply this way, because I like making things very simple. Now, the central issue in the contemporary application of technology in budgeting and financial management is automation. Now, my perspective then to the application of technology in budgeting is very much like what we do in making financial projections. Take a project, for example. Now, you want to build the first 7-star hotel in Nigeria. I was a part of such project a couple of years ago. And when the costing was done initially, it came to about $750 million US. All right. Now, because of delays in approval by government agencies that were involved, over a period of 3.5 years, the cost escalated to $1 billion US. So now, just as Mr. Shaw said earlier on, these investors came from Canada. So how then do we gain their confidence to be able to commit such funds into this economy? So in which case, there had to be transparency. And of course, whatever you now have as projections that we did, in fact, that was the first time we did projections for 50 years for a project, and then translated it into 93 years projections. That's talking about financial projections for 93 years. Okay. So now, in doing that, technology came to play a very big role. And the whole idea then is that when you take the place of, technology, I'll make it as simple as this. There are financial models and software that facilitate that process in the form of what I call plug and play. But you can, of course, make it as simple as the one that anyone has access to, setting up macros, on, let's say, Microsoft Excel, all right? That is the simplest one that doesn't cost you any money, other than having Microsoft Excel. It can be as good as that, but now that process can be automated to start with. Then, of course, we talk later about possible softwares. And that is where now the big role of technology comes in. Very central to budgeting and financial management in the private sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adedipe, for that. So you're talking about, of course, you emphasize the fact that the private sector is the source or the rock in which the economy is presently situated. And I hear you talk about how technology can improve the way they do their budgeting. I don't know, is there a skill? Is there anything, I don't know, is there a skill behind preparation of the budget? You said at first the budget was hundreds of thousands and it went to $1 billion. So is there anything like budget planning? And, how can we go about this, especially using the technology that we're advocating for now? Dr. Adedipe.
Right. Excellent question. Now, this is the way I will look at it. First and foremost, we need to understand that budget planning is absolutely necessary. And that comes from the perspective of the fact that a budget itself is a plan implementation tool. And that tool, of course, works a lot better when it is in context of a medium or long-term plan. In which case, the budget itself, which is an annual plan, is something you now use as a tool to implement the medium or long-term plan. Now, when you take it from that perspective, then it means the place or the role of technology then is to make that tool flexible, scalable, agile, and also if more effective, in which case it helps you to avoid many of the typical challenges that budgeting faced in the traditional context. So in which case, typically then, you are looking at your budget as consisting of the following elements. First is your volume assumptions. Then we talk about your rate assumptions. When you interpolate those two, you arrive at your outcomes and then the strategic initiatives. How do we get this executed? So when you therefore talk about budget, those four components are reflected. So question is, what role can the technology play in that process? And that is why we now talk about technology going beyond merely, working on a spreadsheet, but adopting a technology that connects your general ledger. And therefore it looks at your historical data and then does what they call enabling data-based decision making. Of course, that comes in there also data analytics, which of course, in fact, we even put it as advanced, not just data analytics, advanced data analytics, okay? Then of course, dashboard management. Dashboard management in the private sector means if I sit on the board of a company and I sit on a couple like that, maybe about 12 companies, and I sit on to present a report to me as management. Now, I want to see a budget that is not hanging in the air, so to say, but has relativity to not only our past, how we got to here, has relativity to what is happening in the market and the economy in general, has relativity to what competitors are doing, who are our key competitors. So all of these are plugged into that. So I want a technology that is robust enough to give me a dashboard. When I call it dashboard, that means I don't want to be given too much information where I get lost as a decision maker. At the same time, I don't want to be given information that is less than I require to make effective decisions. So two primary things, and then I will stop on this. And that means the information that I want must not only be useful, it must be relevant. And that means satisfy many attributes to tick those two boxes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You said so many things. You talked about data analysis, you talked about dashboard management, considering the past, relativity, economy, and key competitors. I want to ask you, in your opinion, do you think most companies in the private sector go in depth like this in preparing their budget or their budget planning?
Well, I will say that the number of private entities that we interact with and do things in this way have increased significantly over the years. And I'm saying this from the perspective of having been in business in this Nigerian environment and beyond in the last 30 years. Now, this is the 31st year that my consultancy has been in business. So we've interacted with so many entities, small, medium, large scale, listed on the stock exchange, also international brands. Interestingly also, let me add here, foreign governments as well, okay, in Europe, in Africa. So you find that the same principle running through everything. So it's like I would say the trend is catching up. Everybody is realizing the importance of data-driven decision making. And that is the essence of technology in the whole, calculation.
All right. Thank you so much. What caught my attention again is when you said even different governments elsewhere in the world are also keying into this. Mr. Osho, what's your view about this, especially the fact that other governments are possibly using this kind of tools for their budget planning and implementation? Would you say that budget management tools will be helpful in this administration? And if you think they will, why do you think so? Mr. Osho.
Okay, so thank you very much, Nkechi. The question is better appreciated when you contrast what we currently have with what we had historically in the last, say, 20, 15 years.
Okay.
So there has been many initiatives implemented by government to make technology the necessary enablement for budgeting and budgetary control. But to answer your question, actually, I think the question borders on the benefits of these tools to the government.
Yes.
Nkechi, let me try and make this as simple as it can get, just like Dr. Adedipe did say. Let me begin by asking, what are the key benefits of owning a mobile phone? I'm sure you can relate.
Yes,
right?
not to my children.
Yes. So what are the key benefits of owning a laptop? So the benefits of budget management tools lie in their functionalities and their unique capabilities. And perhaps, if you like, the procedural inefficiencies they save you from. Budget management tools offer a wide array of features and functionalities designed to streamline processes, improve accuracy, and empower organizations to make more informed financial decisions. You see, the principle actually is not idiosyncratic to the private sector. The principle actually cuts across the public sector. One key aspect of budget management creation, okay, or let me take it again. One key aspect of budget management, and in this, I'm referring to the creation and the maintenance of budgets, is that, particularly when you do it from a traditional point of view, is that the process can be time-consuming, prone to errors, and with the preponderance of concurrent multiple versions in the system. Recall recently the allegation made by a senator, Senator Ningi from Bauchi State, that the budget had been padded to the tune of 3.7 whopping trillion. Now, the Senate debunked the allegation and blamed it on differences in version, which meant the version Senator Ningi alluded to or was referring to was different from the one that was passed, and that the version Senator Ningi referred to did not contain first-line charges to judiciaries and the likes. The truth of the matter is, you will always have such propaganda, it's actually not a crisis, such scandals, anytime you have, or anytime you leverage manual system for a behemoth like a government. There are bound to be multiple versions of the same document, and it is almost always difficult to control these versions. In contrast, technology provides a range of capabilities that prevent version proliferation, okay, allowing for faster and more accurate budget creation. Now, another powerful feature, and I'm so happy when Dr. Adedipe referred to dashboarding, analytics, and so on. I hope we have opportunities to deconstruct this further as we go ahead. You see, another powerful feature of this technology is the ability to monitor and track expenses online real time, okay? And this is often done by integrating the financial system with the budgeting software. Dr. Adedipe also did mention integrating this budgeting technology with your general ledger. By general ledger, it's referring to the ledgers that capture the transactions that have already been entered into, so that at any point in time, you can, at the click of a button, see your variance analysis and be able to explain what led to those variances. Okay, so organizations can, whether private or public, can automatically capture and consolidate financial data with their budget information. Okay, having what we call that's into the issues before they become escalated. So these real-time monitoring capabilities allow for early identification of budget variances, enable proactive decision-making, and so on. So budget managers can then quickly analyze spending patterns, identify areas of overspending or underspending, and take corrective action, be it annual budget, be it project budget, be it program budget, whatever budget it could be. So as I close on this, I've spoken to the need for integration between the budget technology or budget management technology and your ERP, enterprise resource planning, which is actually the business solution that warehouses your general ledger, so that there will be that handshake between your plan of action and what you have done. Nkechi, if there are need for additional clarification and or amplification, I'm happy to take them further.
Thank you. I just want to just take you a bit more to what Dr. Adedipe said. He referred to the benefit of, one of the benefits is that you can look at the past. Now, there's a school of thought that believes that the Nigerian government, unfortunately, does not practice continuity, in the sense that when an administration ends and another one starts, it's normally on a clean slate, not building up on the old ones. We look at countries like Dubai, like Rwanda, to bring it home close, that have built up over a couple of years with continuity. Now, is it possible that because our government currently or in the past, I haven't assessed the current government, is not too in tune with technology, so it's not possible to have that continuity and reflect on the past to guide the present in terms of building up your budget, like Dr. Adedipe spoke about? I just want you to talk about that briefly.
Okay, so if I got your question correctly, I submit that there is no such Venn diagram where technology and government policies, choices, intersect. There's no such Venn diagram. Okay, but let me expand the question a little further about continuity. If this question had been asked, say, some 6-10 years ago, I will have absolutely agreed with you. But the paradigm seems to have shifted. I think in the twilight of Dr. Goodluck Jonathan's administration, Fiscal Responsibility Act was passed. And that Fiscal Responsibility Act, among many other provisions, provided for what we call mid. So attending speak for the local government, but at those two levels, the federal government and the subnationals, they have 3 years budget at any point in time. So if the current year budget is utilized, then they develop, as a matter of fact, the Fiscal Responsibility Act requires that additions must be, additions to each year's budget. So if you have 3 years budget and you've utilized for 1 year, then you must ensure that another year is ready 4 months before the end of the current year. That's what the Fiscal Responsibility Act says. Okay, so is there continuity in government programs, policies, and so on? Yes, based on the legislative framework of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, I will say yes. But is that the best we can achieve? I will say, yeah, there are still headspace for growth. Okay, but that must be closely distinguished from the role technology plays. Okay, technology will not define government programs for it. Technology will not define its policies. Technology will not define its priorities and how it chooses to allocate its resources. Okay, so technology just enables governments to achieve what it has set out, okay, in the mandate given to it by the electorate. At the risk of going on and on and on, if there are need for additional clarification, I'm very happy to provide them.
Okay, so there's technology is very good, but it has its restrictions. I got that. Thank you so much. Can you just briefly talk on some digital platforms and the benefits of having this, if any?
Okay. So this question borders on. Please take the question again.
Can you talk briefly on any digital platform you're familiar with, and explain the benefit of having this platform in the government system? Any digital platform or all?
So is the use of the word platform that I thought I needed to properly define. Okay, so these are actually called solutions.
Okay.
Okay. As a matter of fact, if I'm to use the right vocabulary, we call them enterprise resource planning.
Okay.
So a typical ERP would be an embodiment of, let me explain it. Dr. Adedipe started the concept of making the complex simple. You will have heard of accounting packages.
Yes.
Accounting packages are the business solutions whose use is limited only to the accounting division what you call the financial reporting division. So what it does for you is you can post your transaction into your general ledger, and at the end of a given period, you can do aggregation and then generate your statement of financial position, performance, statement of cash flow, change equity, and all of that. Now, if you expand that capability to the degree that the functionality of the solution is not limited only to the accounts department, then what you have is no longer an accounting package. What you have is an ERP. So a typical ERP will have general ledger functionality, it will have fixed assets module, it will have account receivable, account payable. I could go on and on. But in addition to that, it will also have budget module, or budget provides for oversight and control, for variance reporting. In fact, a typical ERP also has alluded to analytics a while ago. So the BI tool is able to generate for you a bridge form, but without losing detail. Okay, that sounds like a contradiction. It's able to generate for you transaction in a highly condensed form, but without losing detail. And you see, the beauty of this is that report will have come from many heterogeneous platforms. So it will have got many modules, irrespective of the number of modules embodied in the ERP. It will generate all of those and present to you in a management consumable format. Report of expended costs, revenue already earned, comparing such reports with the plan of action set out at the beginning. Then you are looking at information sourced from many modules of the ERP. Okay, that's where business analytics played a significant role. I don't know if I spoke to your question. If not, please, Nkechi, come back to me. I'm very well happy to take it further.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shaw. So, Dr. Adedipe, I just want you to, climb in on this conversation. Mr. Osho was talking about the enterprise resource planning, as he explained it with the benefit it has for any organization, be it in the public or the private sector. I don't know if there's any other technology you want to talk about, or you want to talk more about this enterprise resource planning. Dr. Adedipe.
All right, thank you so very much. But Mr. Osho has put it succinctly. And, like he said, there are an incorporate as well. And I just mentioned one in addition to what he said, vendors management, for example. So different modules in there, it gives you a complete picture, like he said, in a condensed form that now empowers management or the directors to make business decisions. That's why we call it data-enabled decision-making. All right, so an ERP empowers you to do that. And also embedded in it as well is human resource management and several other things brought into consideration there. Now, let me give a practical example. We had, a meeting with one of our clients, December 2023, just a few months ago. And the ERP in that particular bank threw up the number of management staff that were approaching retirement age first half of this year, 2024. Which until that thing happened, nobody was conscious of, even the fellows concerned, including their, the finance director, had no idea whatsoever that his retirement was nearing. And the man was due to retire end of March this year. Okay? But that system threw up those names. And then when he threw up the names, it suddenly occurred to them that, what? Have we really put in place a succession plan for these critical key job roles? Okay? So, but this was facilitated by technology because nobody was thinking about it. Nobody had the line in sight towards it. So the ERP is a very comprehensive, let's use the word tool now, okay, that incorporates so many solutions, as Mr. Shaw said earlier on. So we can go on and on and on, but it gives you a total view of the entire enterprise. And that is why anything you talk about now, It's about enterprise solution. It also embeds in there enterprise risk management. Okay, so many things you get that technology now facilitates. So that means talking about a ball dropping through a gap is very rare to see, where you embrace technology to drive the organization.
Thank you so much. And I think you have helped to rope it into why the topic says budget management oversight for enhanced corporate governance. You've brought up some of the issues that have to do with corporate governance, like succession planning. Are there any other direct relations between technology in budgeting and financing and corporate governance you would like to flag, Dr. Adedipe?
All right, thank you very much. Now, when we bring in corporate governance, I put it in a simple way that one of the researchers put it. He said corporate governance is the way the people. So what technology now comes to do in that context is to help us to govern ourselves. In which case, how do I, as a member,
Okay, I think we've lost Dr. Adedipe there.
is executed on a daily basis. In fact, let me say on per minute basis.
Sir, I would like
to enables us to now.
Sorry, please, I would like you to just trace your steps.
Because of oversight, because oversight is the critical element when it comes to corporate governance.
Sorry, sir, can you hear me?
In that instance, it means, yes, please.
I'm sorry, we lost you for about 3 seconds. So if you could just retrace what you said, just 2-3 seconds.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I started by saying that corporate governance is how the people of an organization police themselves. All right. Now, in that instance, ultimately it's aimed at protecting the interests of all stakeholders, whether internal or external. Now, the budget sets expectations for a defined period of time, usually 1 year. And so execution begins therefore. And what technology comes in there to do is to ensure that, number one, there is reporting that is transparent, and then the data presented is reliable and trustworthy. And also, every stakeholder, especially external, and that's why we talk about market discipline. Now, market discipline in this context means that those external stakeholders have access to information that is reliable and also of high integrity that they can now base their decision on. If I'm a shareholder, do I still want to hold the shares of this company or go to sell it? It enables you to do that because the information available is of top quality. So one of the things technology does, therefore, is not just to make that information available, but like Mr. Osho said earlier on, I like that particular dimension. Real-time. Now, my own idea of real time is not about giving me a report, either monthly, quarterly, but can I, at this very minute, and that's the beauty of some of these solutions that we deal with in budgeting and, of course, budget oversight and monitoring. What they do for you is that you can have that app on your phone. You recall that there is some reference to phone and, of course, laptops earlier on. So on your phone, it means technology enables you on the go to know the state of that entity when it comes to budget execution. So those apps on your phone, therefore, empower you to see the performance to the minute, in which case I don't need to wait till the end of the month when the report is generated. I don't need to wait until the end of the quarter. So on the go at any point in time, I can see where we are. And so corrective action, because that's the essence of budget oversight, to take corrective action in good time so that we can keep in focus our expectation as defined in the budget for that year. So the key thing then is that, as we normally say, the central issue in corporate governance has oftentimes been narrowed down to accounting and reporting. And that is where technology comes in. So all those shenanigans of the past years that led to collapse of, businesses and so on and so forth, even global financial crisis we experienced, and all of these challenges, you find that with solutions that can enable information that is reliable, that is flexible, that is scalable, and of course, of high integrity, enhances stakeholders to play by the books.
Kind of thing the public sector should, of course, I'm not naive. I do not think it will happen overnight, but that is the long-term destination that our public sector should strive to reach, such that we will not have this quagmire and this mystery around constituency projects. So a senator is paid how much? Nobody can say authoritatively today.
Yeah.
And because of the mystery around such information, we've had mendacious propagandists who have capitalized on the mystery around the information, either for political gains and so on and so forth. So there are a whole lot of opportunities that can indeed help in achieving governance principle, even in the public sector, as I cited the illustration in Argentina. Nkechi, you are back. Welcome. I yield back to you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, our experienced seasoned facilitators, for covering the gap. I do apologize for some technical issues from the Secretariat. So yes, we're back, and this is the conversation. I just want to remind our viewers that you can join the conversation by sending in your questions in the chat box, and we will entertain them before the program ends. So it's about hearing from you as well. Thank you again. Mr. Osho, I would like you to talk briefly about, you spoke, when I spoke with you in private for the program, you spoke about what you called business intelligence tools and artificial intelligence tools, and there's a difference. I don't know if you want to expatiate on that so that we're clear. Is there anything like business intelligence tools different from artificial intelligence tools? If there's a difference, could you tell us what the differences are, please? Thank you, Mr. Osho.
Thank you very much, Nkechi. These two phenomena are used interchangeably by many, whereas they are related, but they are not exactly the same. They are complementary, actually. Okay, so and I would like us to address this conversation with a practical example. Imagine you have bank accounts in First Bank, what we call FUGAS, First Bank, Union Bank, Guarantee Trust Bank, Access Bank, and Zenith Bank. You have multiple accounts across these platforms, bearing in mind that the banking application used by one bank will differ from another. We have T24 banking app, we have Terminals, we have Finacle. There are a number of banking apps out there. So imagine you define an API. I mean, if you want the definition, what the API means, I'm happy to explain it later. If imagine you have defined an API that enables you to query information across your bank account, across those platforms. These platforms are heterogeneous. In other words, the banks are not using the same app or the same type of banking app. Okay, so that at the click of a button, you can determine and generate reports of all transactions or payments over and above 100,000 naira. Imagine that is possible. What you have leveraged is the power of business intelligence. You have leveraged the power of business intelligence tool, which essentially aggregates, it's an aggregator, which essentially aggregates information from many otherwise heterogeneous sources and present it to you as if it came from the machine from which you generated it. And it does that at the click of a button. And then beyond that, it can also give you perspectives to the same report. So you can generate graphs, you can vary builds, and then you get information that will aid management decision. If you listen to me very well, I'm referring to information or reports about or intelligence. We should use the right vocabulary. So I'm referring to intelligence because it's about intelligence gathering. Okay, I'm referring to intelligence of events that has already taken place. That's BI. Of events that has already taken place. So it is descriptive in nature, DES. Descriptive. I intentionally spelled it because when I'm describing AI, I'm going to use something, I'm also going to use an adjective that is stiff. And I do not want us to confuse them. It is descriptive in nature. Okay, pretty much like, maybe we should bring it home. You buy a newspaper, and that newspaper aggregates the news from all other newspapers. So you can imagine how stupendously useful that would be for management who does not have time or does not have the luxury of time to go through multifaceted, with a number of English and all of those things. Now, let's go to AI. AI stands for artificial intelligence. AI actually seeks to either mirror or augment human intelligence. Okay, and if you have used ChatGPT before, I mean, that's the most common one everybody uses. If you have used ChatGPT before, then you have leveraged the capability of AI. Imagine it is possible. Let me speak from the public sector first, and then I go to private sector. Nkechi, if I'm overshooting my time, please just let me know. Imagine it is possible for President Bolaji Tinubu to, at the click of a button, determine the demographics of likely voters who will vote for APC in the next general election, simply by analyzing their digital footprints, voters' digital footprints. Okay, in other words, how potential voters react, their psychographics, their psychologies when they respond to Facebook ad, when they respond to issues on the social media. Okay, and then use this information, use this analysis to develop targeted advertisements to target those people who are already on the sideline, who are not sure whether they want to vote for PDP or APC. Okay, and then develop targeted ad for them. Okay, that was used actually to oust Dr. Goodluck Jonathan in 2015, if I recall. In fact, Donald Trump also used the information. So if you have listened to me, okay, I'm coming to the example of private sector in a bit. If you have listened to me, you will have come to the conclusion that whereas business intelligence is descriptive, describing what has taken place, artificial intelligence is more prescriptive and or predictive. Okay, it's not prescriptive, PRE, right? And or predictive. Okay, like I did say, they are complementary, but they are not in fact the same. So when management talks about intelligence, 90% of the time, they're talking about business intelligence. Let me quickly address the remaining 10%. It is possible now, I'm talking about private sector now. I'm closing on this so that I don't overshoot your time. It is possible for a marketing director who is about to launch a new product or a new product offering into a highly competitive environment. The marketing director will be at a loss as to the reception or how customers or potential customers will receive this new brand. Okay, so it is possible to leverage AI to do like an hypothesis of likely prognosis that will happen on the products. Okay, how many of our existing customers will likely embrace this new product? How many of the customers of our competitors will find it attractive? And all of this will be done based on the social media footprint of customers. Have you noticed that this is my own experience? I called somebody, not just somebody, I called about 3-4 people and I was mentioning ring light. And from the next 1 hour after, I started seeing back to back ring light ad on my Facebook account. Wait a minute. A ring light ad that I had never seen forever. But because I made a telephone conversation, making inquiries as to specification, sizes, amounts, and then I kept mentioning ring light, ring light, ring light. And because my smartphone was internet enabled, there are certain information that are being collected about me. And that's where privacy also comes in. Okay? There are certain information about me that are being collected that I'm not aware of, that an AI capability is using to now determine what will be targeted at me. Okay, at the risk of going on and on, Nkechi, let me rest it at this point. Now, if the participant need further clarification, I'm more than happy to come back with them. Nkechi, I yield back to you.
Thank you very much. I have actually experienced that, and I thought it was voodoo at some point. But so I'm glad to know that it's like anticipated and expected. So that leads me to why some people are hesitant about technology online. Dr. Adedipe, why do you think people are not so quick to go online? What do you see as the challenges and or emerging trends in this area?
All right, let me start from the lighter mood, which will address this issue of people who are, let me say, reluctant online. Now, we make this joke generally that if I put your name on a search engine, all right, whether it is, Google, Firefox, Bing,
Is it from us?
cybersecurity, which again I make so sweet. Cybersecurity is not about how thick, all right? Because your wall can be so high, it can be so thick. All it takes is someone to punch it somewhere where it is vulnerable, and then you are completely knocked off. Okay, so it's about how do I operate on that virtual platform, as we call it, and do that safely. So, which is why we look at various options. And that's why, I mean, the last distinction between business intelligence and artificial intelligence done by Mr. Osho, you notice I was just smiling. In fact, I responded like I was Nkechi, who is the moderator. I wanted to say, and now head back. Say, let the moderator say it, let me not be. Okay. Now, as defined by OECD, what is called transparency and accountability initiatives. There are elements in there. But when we talk about emerging trends, I'll put it only two. The technology leverage, the essence of this conversation, and then transparency, automation, cloud, and of course, there are different perspectives of what we call, technology as service. And of course, we have several other dimensions to this. But the ultimate end is that you are looking at a situation where even machine learning and artificial intelligence described now by Mr. Osho, there's even the dimension of generative artificial intelligence, okay? We go beyond AI itself. Let me give you an illustration. Artificial intelligence says, I can manage my health with my smart and has embedded a feature that says when it is saying that if I can achieve that every hour of the day that I'm awake, at least I will keep my body mobile, not sitting at a particular point for so long. Now, I was going for a meeting in I was in the airplane. Now, I had already booked a flight to Dubai later in the same year for a family holiday. Now, in between that space, United Airlines and Emirates signed an agreement. Okay. So on my return to Nigeria from my speaking at conference in New Jersey, I received an ad, just to give an illustration of what Mr. Osho said earlier on. I received an ad, and it came straight from United Airlines, asking me to fly with them to Dubai. And I said, what the connection? I live in Nigeria. United doesn't fly from Nigeria to Dubai. So in which case, their own artificial intelligence reckon that I must reside in US to have booked a flight from Washington, D.C. to New Jersey. And now that they have signed an agreement with Emirates, now marketing me to fly with them. So which means that artificial intelligence can also turn out stupid on occasions. Which is why it is now about generative artificial intelligence. Which now pulls both descriptive and predictive, nature together. And I says, how do I use it to make decisions or predict how this particular individual will make a decision? So in which case, I don't wait marketing you when you have made a decision. And then I want to market you before you make the decision. So I go historical. You patronize me for this particular service. What particular time of the year do you patronize me? So this technology will now help to put me in your face before that time of the year that you made that decision. So it then helps me in terms of not only keeping the customers I have currently, but also reaching out to customers that have a similar footprint in the digital space. All right. So therefore, giving me opportunity to expand. Now, the key thing here, what I refer to as key attributes of transparency and accountability in budgeting. One is that there must be horizontal and vertical alliances between stakeholders. Just like the example Mr. Osho gave earlier on. Okay, vertical and horizontal, which is alliances. People have access to information. People therefore can make decisions. People can also challenge what has been done so that everybody is on his or her toes to get projects, programs, policies delivered. And then I will add this, the challenges dimension. I will speak to all three of them, but not necessarily talk so much about that. The first challenge in technology leverage in budgeting and corporate governance is capacity. In which case, you need to build the necessary skills and knowledge of what this is all about. So if you don't have it, I'm afraid you might actually invest in it. It's not cheap on occasions, but find that all you need was, yes, we have, a state-of-the-art technology for driving our business. But the question we ask is, applying it like we did for a bank. I evaluated that bank. They said, one of our strengths is they have the contemporary technology. I said, fine. And I pointed out to them that you also have a weakness in technology. And they were like, how? I said, you are not making the best use of that technology. So which means you need to build capacity to be able to use it after the acquisition. Now, the second challenge I'll mention relates to the flexibility and scalability of the technology. Because oftentimes we acquire technologies that, on the one hand, is, I won't say restricted, but in terms of its ability, it is constrained. So it is not scalable. For example, you cannot bring another module and integrate into it. In fact, there's a company I sit on its board that was the problem we had with the application we will be using in the last couple of years. We just made a decision January this year to buy another solution that is more flexible and scalable. And then, of course, we are doing the parallel run, and there's a date for cutoff. Queen, the head of IT, must report to the board every quarter, number one. But monthly, the MD must also update us so that we don't get any, embarrassment where we are supposed to cut over. The final one is cost. It is not cheap. So in which case, you must look at it not as a cost item, but rather as an investment. In which case, the value you derive from it will be treated as return on investment. Right. Not that you treat the technology as a cost. Right. You treat it as an investment, then the value you derive from it will be regarded as return on that investment. Those are the challenges I will talk about, just those three for now. Thank you
very much. I will please ask the Secretariat to collate the questions that have been sent on the box. I can't see them from here. If I can have them collated, or if I can have the device in which I can read them off. While they are doing that, okay. Mr. Shaw, you want to? Yes. I can see you're excited. I can see you wanted to. So you have the floor, sir.
I'm very much inspired by what Dr. Adedipe just explained. But I thought it is, or will be transferring value to our participants if I had a footnote to everything he has said. It's not to replace, far from it. It's just to add a footnote, additional information. Your question borders on cybersecurity. Very recently, 2 days ago, I got a notification on my phone that somebody had hacked or had logged into my Gmail account. And when I looked at the location, it was one remote village in Russia. So the question is, how could somebody in Russia log into? What could the person be interested in? I mean, the questions abound. But that's what you experience every and any time you are consuming services from the information superhighway. Every and any time you need username, password to enter into a solution. Those things are called electronic credentials. The username, the password, the authentication, identification. What it means is you might have lost it, but you will not be aware of the loss. If you lose your ATM card, the moment it is misplaced, you will not be able to, so you know that you had missed it, right? Yeah. But if someone else has access to your username and password, you still have the original. So you don't know that you have lost it, okay? And that's typically the major challenge every and any time you deploy solutions, particularly solutions that are web-enabled. Now, I want to leverage this. I want us to discuss this in the context of the public sector, and then discuss one or two cybersecurity implications. I also consult in that space. Is that, you see, in the public sector, one major problem, I mean, I've been consulted for about 3 of them for about 10 years now. One major problem that I have noticed is that no matter the amount of investments vested in employees, when you come back 2 months thereafter, the person has been moved. So you wonder, wait a minute, where is this director? He's been redeployed from the head of service, from the office of the head of service. This is not the kind of person you should redeploy. So if you have what we call security administrator who sits as a public sector employee, trust me, when a new government comes, the first thing that is done is to reshuffle, and the public sector loses out on all the investments, the intellectual, the cognition, or the cognitive, IT cognitive ability that the person warehouses. But I don't want us to even delve too much into it. Let's discuss the countermeasures, or how to guard yourself against the crisis or the losses, potential losses from, we can broadly categorize into 2. There's what we call the human angle to countermeasures, cybersecurity measures, and then there's the technology angle. What is the human angle? We read in history that China fortified itself through its walls. And that every time it was invaded, it was not through that wall. It was invaded through the negligence of those manning the gates. So what did I just say? Regardless of how robust your security architecture is, all it takes is for one of your employees to innocently divulge confidential information, username, password, and once an hacker is able to gain access into the
profile, or click on an unidentified link, that as well. I don't know if I'm
yes, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. Excellent. Once an hacker is able to gain access into the profile of one employee, the entire information processing facility is already compromised. So when organization reflects on the need to put in place countermeasures for cybersecurity, they often ignore the human angle. That is why the greatest weakness, the greatest security threats, or the greatest information security threat to any employee is a demotivated staff. I'll take it again. The greatest cyber security threats to any organization is a disgruntled staff. So irrespective of the sophistication of your IT architecture, you must take care of the motivation of your employees, regular updates, regular training and retraining. You know, you did say, many of us have clicked it. It's called phishing tools. Once you click it, you know what it does? It averts all the sensitive information you have used to log in on that session. You see, every time you log into, I keep using banking app. Every time you log into your banking app, that's a session. And that session lasts until you log out, okay? So if you click a malicious link, okay, what you have done is you have transmitted back end, of course, transmitted all confidential information about that session to the hacker. And confidential information includes ID, password, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the human angle is perhaps, in fact, it's been said that human beings are the weakest link in the security chain. So when many organizations, many board of directors, many public sector practitioners think about cybersecurity countermeasures and threats, they think about it in the context of Naira and Kobo investment in intrusion detection device, investment in firewalls, investment in antiviruses, investment in no. You see, those things will be run by human beings. The first investment you need to reflect on is your employees. How do you want to begin your fortification from that angle? Once that is done, at the risk of going on and on, you will now face your technology, where you do major investment. Dr. Adedipe did say that you won't consider them as costs. They are indeed investment. So you do IDS, intrusion detection device. What it does is, if there's any unauthorized access to your network, if it is successful, a log is created. The question is, the person whose responsibility it is to review the log and take corrective action, is he doing it as and when due? The person who is expected to review the work of the person doing it, is he also reviewing if those links are threatened? Irrespective of your IDS, the hacker will still have invaded your system, will still have perpetrated losses, and then it will go unnoticed. So you have firewalls, you have virus softwares, okay? Virus softwares. Even when you have virus software, there's what we call signatures. Intermittently or periodically, the virus software is expected to download what we call virus signature. Virus signature are actually digital footprints of viruses. And what that does is, the virus signatures are the responses of the authors or the vendor of the viruses to the emergence of new virus in the space. So if you have an antivirus software for which you are not constantly downloading the virus signature, it's as good as having a dog tied in your bedroom, dog that should be at the gate, but you tied it in your bedroom. You know, at the risk of going on and on and on, let's keep it at that. I hope participants will ask questions that will elicit more feedbacks, and then we can get tangible return on investment for our time and data infrastructure. Nkechi, I yield back to you.
Thank you very much. Tangible investment and return. Secretary, I don't know if the questions are available now. from the participants? Perhaps I can't see a thing. Okay.
Maybe I can also add a rider to what Mr. Osho just said now.
Okay, sir.
That's the fact that when it comes to cybersecurity,
sir, we
yes,
can't see you.
as the right place.
Are you?
Oh.
Is your video on?
Yes, my video is
on. Yes, maybe the IT should just spotlight him.
Spotlight him.
The three of you were spotlighted before, but they removed it from spotlight. They should just spotlight him. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, thank you. All right, so just to add a rider to what Mr. Osho said now, that the greatest risk when it comes to the organization and, in fact, talking about cyber risk, is your people. And that's why capacity building must be an ongoing thing. Then there's also another point where technology can be used to also test your capacity to withstand attacks. We call it penetration testing. There's also a tool for that that can give you a score of how vulnerable your entire system is to penetration by a hacker or anyone with malicious intent. And so, again, this is something we've applied in an organization I sit on its board. So where we get on a quarterly basis, when the board meets, the score that we have. So that enables us to see how we are improving in protecting ourselves against hackers as an organization. I think the last score we had was over 90%. When we started using that technology, we are at about 70-something%. And they began to deal with the issues one after the other. The score kept increasing and improving. On the latest one that was reported last month, but the board meeting held beginning of this month, and then they came with 90-something%. I said, that is fine. With this, our vulnerability to cybersecurity can also be tested with yet this technology. Just to add that, to what Mr. Osho said.
All right.
I'm practically enjoying myself here. And thank you for it.
So we have a Musa. Well, he's asking a question we've already asked. He says, what are the challenges in leveraging emerging technology in budget management? I think we've talked about that, but maybe Mr. Osho, one minute just to address it again, bullet points, so that he's clear.
So technology, the question again, challenges in
applying technology in budget management, the challenges.
Okay, so you asked me to go bullet point. Number
just
one,
bullet point, just because we've spoken about it at length before, so just bullet point.
Yes. You see, number one for me is most times lack of executive ownership or lack of top management ownership. Okay, so they don't provide effective oversight of such technology investments. Number two is cybersecurity. We just discussed it. Number three is acquiring technology that is not fit for purpose. There are methodologies to technology deployment and technology investment. Ideally, if you are going to buy a technology that will solve problems, the problem definition should not come from management. Problem definition should not come from the C-suite. It's not the MD. We heard of, don't let me go. You asked me to bullet it. Okay. So the next one is not having technology that. Then the next one is technology that is not being kept updated. Question is, what version of the technology are you running? Vis-a-vis the most current version the vendor is supporting. From time to time, Microsoft will say, from this point onward, we are no longer supporting this product. What it means is, if you continue to use it, you are exposing yourself to the perils of cyber attacks. Nkechi, I think we should keep it at that.
All right.
If there is for more, please, we are here.
Go to the next one. I don't want to have to be saying this each time one person. Do you understand, Secretariat? Once this question, I've asked this question, please go to the next question so we don't waste any time. So the next question is, how do you address the human factor in the use of technology, especially in government circle? and the issue of training and skill sets to use the technology. Secretary, go to the next question. So, Dr. Adedipe, you have this. Okay, no.
Right, thank you very.
After you speak, then Mr. Osho can also come in.
All right. Now, the starting point is what I would say the capacity building. But we've had experiences where when you interact with, government officials, especially with respect to technology adoption, that's just the first leg of it. Adoption is first, and then now deployment is another. So adoption, yes, will involve decision making by the top leadership and all of that. But when it now comes to deployment, that's where skills come in. So in that case, you need to build capacity of those that will use the technology deployed. But keep in mind always that the ultimate focus is user-friendliness. So in which case, the technology itself is user-friendly, so not something complicated. That's number one. Now, as they get to understand to use it, the next consideration is that they should not abuse it. All right? So in which case, that is where it connects to governance. They want to ensure that they use it for the right purpose. And then, of course, the outcome of the use or deployment of that technology. How do they make use of what the technology produces? Because we've seen instances where the solution generates a report, but in actually making decisions, the report is ignored because of primordial sentiments and maybe also some selfish interests that someone wants to protect. I won't mention names here, but I use an illustration of a particular instance where we collaborated with some other consultants. This was long ago, 1998 to be specific. Okay. By the time we came with 4 possible solutions, the way to now select was based on the fact that we cannot take solution number 1 because it cannot work here. Why can't it work? They said because of the nature of the people working there. So it was now talking about the mindset. So in which case, it is not enough to build knowledge and skills. You may have to also deal with attitude of the people that will use it. So then, of course, like Mr. Shaw said earlier on, there must be a connection with external stakeholders, and that is citizens, which means there's a portal where I can relate, interact with what the outcome is, and give my feedback as well. So I don't have to be in the inner circle like a state government I belong in, quote and unquote, an inner circle of 6 economists that they submit the performance of the state government to every 6 months. I got a report from that state government just last week Friday, okay? So for July to December 2023. So we evaluate it independently. They don't pay us for it. But at least that state government has submitted itself to scrutiny by external stakeholders, all right? So there must be a platform, therefore, that enables external stakeholders to also check what you are doing and give you a feedback. And it must be such that they don't have any other thing to benefit other than the fact that you perform. So once you have it that way, it means the feedback you are getting is not because you are paying them. It is because they want to see that your plan, your budget is implemented as you have told the generality of the populace. Let me stop there, okay? Because I know Mr. Osho wanted to add something.
Yes, thank you. But what you said about a government in this our country subjecting themselves to such scrutiny and accountability is music to my ears. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Shaw, you want to chime in?
So Dr. Adedipe, it's always difficult speaking after you because you will have, but let me just add again footnotes. I can only add footnotes to what you say, not the body itself. Looking at the idiosyncrasies in the public sector, this constant redeployment of employees is like running water. You cannot touch the same water twice. if you go to an office, do a revisitation 6, 7, 8 months, 1 year after the person has been moved, and moved to a non-related, probably non-IT related place, and then you lose all the investment you have made on that. That's major one for me. Number two, Dr. Adedipe talked about mindset. No, he used the word attitude. You see, civil service. Now I'm lowering my voice intentionally to make this point, because I don't know how many of my clients are listening, and you know this can affect them. You see, the civil service is set in its ways. A number of career civil servants will rather show fidelity to precedents and convention than pursue process optimization. So if you bring the best, so I can raise my voice now. So if you bring the best software to a typical civil service establishment, the question is, can the software run itself? Can the software populate itself? You will still need to do this. From experience, there's almost always that ambivalence between a consultant and a civil servant. Because when a consultant comes, you will tell by his suit, Dr. Adedipe's suit, you will tell and his bill will be processed by this civil servant. So somebody is thinking, you have come just for 5 days engagement to collect the entire salary I will earn in my entire career. So what's the issue? Mutual apathy, mutual ambivalence. So if the consultant is not down to earth, if the consultant projects his ego, the solution will never be delivered. So the consultant needs to first of all swallow some humble pie and understand, appreciate the psychology and the psychographics of the civil servants before they can meet. I mean, if they two can only work together except they agree. If they don't agree, there won't be solution, because the critical information needed by the consultant is in the custody of the civil servant. So if the civil servant is not trusting enough, of the consultant, he will come speak grammar and then you walk away. The problem persists. The final, I've raised 2 points. The third point, so as not to overstretch time, is what I call threats to sustainability. APC government bought this technology. PDP government is now in power and is suspicious that the technology is surreptitiously, in other words, secretly, gathering information and sending it to political traducers, to political opponents. So it is almost always the case that when the new government comes into power, the first thing to throw away are not just the actors of the old government, including the critical infrastructures that were used to process mission critical information. They also throw them away. So they start all over. These are the measures. Now, please, I need you to contrast that from, I need you to differentiate that from what I said earlier. The point I made about medium-term expenditure framework relates only to budgets. Now, we're talking about critical infrastructure. In fact, a new government might say, look, that is not solving our problem. That's not the kind of problem I want to solve. My kind of problem is different from the kind of problem the old. I campaign on this kind of problem. So we have a whole lot of conundrums in that space. Okay, just in addition to Dr. Adedipe's brilliant submission.
Yes, thank you very much. And talking about overshooting our time, we most certainly have. So we can't take any more questions. I would just unfortunately, any other question, the registrar CEO will collate it and we will share it with distinguished facilitators. And as they have time, they will then give answers and will also share. It will also be interesting for you to join subsequent programs of the Institute so you can get more insight into this. It's not my job to give the vote of thanks. That has been reserved for the honorary treasurer. But before I invite him on, I would like us to take an photograph. We have started the technology. So I would like the registrar CEO to also be emphasized. Good, fantastic. So to start with, just the registrar, not everybody yet, just the two facilitators, Dr. Abiodun Adedipe, Mr. Bolaji Osho, the registrar CEO, and the honorary treasurer. Just the 5 first before everybody else comes on board. The CEO should also be. So yes, so can we have an online cheese or an online smile, please?
Cheese.
Thank you very much. And then every other person can join now. If no matter how we can do it, all right. All right. I guess I'm taking it page by page. Yes. We're done. All right. Thank you very much. So on this note, my name is Nkechi Onyenso, Mrs. FCIS, and I'm the chairman of Publicity and Advocacy Committee of the Institute of Charter Secretaries and Administrators. And I'll be handing over to the honorary treasurer, Mr. Francis Olawale, FCIS, to give us the vote of thanks. Mr. Olawale, you have the
floor. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon now. Our very, very interesting and able facilitators of thanks permit me to just join myself. That's what happens when you bring two masters of the game, to have a conversation like this. A lot has been said, but a major thing I would like to stress is the fact that budgeting process, budgeting system is not, complete. It's not efficient. A horizontal and vertical alliance among key stakeholders. I want us to take that, away. While those people, who are preparing the budget should ensure that the information input should not be overly verbose, should not be too short, for decision makers to use. The information should be scalable, flexible, and should be reliable. On the other hand, as well, the decision the budget should also lend, to the anticipative, use. Lastly, a key thing, that was said by Mr. Osho that was very scary. Every reality was when he said that, the greatest threat, to any cyber system is a disgruntled, staff. That sounded, very scary. And I asked myself, it's really scary. But while I was ruminating over that, Dr. Adedipe, gave, an answer. And he talked about attitude, and then Mr. Osho then also, while outlining something, talked about executive oversight, executive responsibility. Where am I bringing that to as governance practitioner is the fact that it is said, that culture is strategy for breakthrough on the decision makers, on the business leaders is to ensure, that it's still an appropriate culture, because anything to get anybody disgruntled. I mean, for example, you only allowed the people that have a role to speak. You've only unmuted them. Somebody who does not have a role to, for whose fault? And then the person could become dangerous. So where I'm going is the fact that, the business owners, the leaders of business, where people understand their roles, instill proper discipline so that bad eggs, after trying all that you can, bad eggs are fished out of the system, or else they will be disgruntled for wrong reasons and then they will hurt, the system. Having said that, permit me to go on to the, vote of thanks. It's been wonderful. It's been exciting and it's been very, 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 very sweet. I could see Dr. just enjoying himself. While he was speaking, I was enjoying him. When we wanted to start the convener, of this program, acknowledge, his teacher, our teacher, sorry, Mr. Bolaji, Osho. For me, there are two teachers, on the side for me as well. One, Dr. Adedipe, who is a maestro, a veteran, was my own teacher in the early banking days. In those banking days, at several times, Mr. Bolaji Osho, was also a co-teacher. I was a co-teacher with him in the early days of Skill Future with Mr. Olatunji. It's so exciting. Yes, both are subject matter experts by all standards, and they proved it. I wish we had longer time.
Yeah.
I would like to say to you, sir, Dr. Adedipe, thank you. You proved yourself once again, Dr. Adedipe, FCIB, FCIS.
Thank you
And
very
Mr.
much.
Bolaji Osho, my great ACIS, FCA, thank you very much for doing justice, to the subject, and we appreciate you. Hope that when we call on you the next time, you'll be readily available for us. Mr. Bolaji Osho is a son of the soil, a major son of the soil anyway, and I'm sure that anytime we call upon him, he will be there. Thank you very, very much, sir. On behalf of the Governing Council, on behalf of Madam President and Madam VP, who are airborne, by now from Malaysia, I'd like to say a very big thank you, and we appreciate you. I would also like to recognize, as a matter of protocol, some of our council members who were with us, from the beginning to the end. We want to thank and acknowledge Mr. Bode Ayeku, a past president, Mr. Bode Ayeku, FCIS, a past president of this institute. He's been with us from the beginning till now. I would also like to recognize Mr. Tony Okoma, FCIS, a council member, who has also been with us. I would also like to acknowledge Mrs. Bonke Okpajobi, FCIS, who has also been with us. Mrs. Linda Onofeli, FCIS, who has also been with us. Coincidentally, she used to sit on the seat that Madam Nkechi Onyenso, is sitting today. She started this conversation, and it's been wonderful. And then lastly, Mrs. Abiola Lasente, a dogged soldier. She's been trying to log in, I'm aware, and then before the end of the program, she got on the program. I would like to appreciate that. I would also like to appreciate the members of the committee that put this together. I will start by, saying in a very big thank you to our host for the day, the convener. I call her the convener herself. This is Nkechi Onyenso. She doubles today as both the chairman, the committee that put this together, and she has been a very wonderful host. You'll all agree, with me. I would also like to acknowledge and appreciate the vice chairman of the committee, Mrs. Mumi Adepolu. Other members of the committee are Mrs. Bolaji Gabavi, Mrs. FCIS, Mrs. Sterling Vincent Okoboma, ACIS, Mr. Bola Babatunde, FCIS, Mrs. Pauza Oluokun, ACIS, Chairman of Oyo State Chapter, and Mrs. Yvette Ekwesi, all members of the committee that put this together. Of course, a big thank you to Registrar, and his team, and to a lot of our fellows who I can see online, our distinguished fellows. We acknowledge you. We appreciate your support, for the institute, for all our associates and other members. We appreciate you, members of the press, present here. You are worthy to acknowledge you, and we trust, that all that has been said here today, very, very, very genuine points that have been made here today, will be vitally reported, across the paper. On that note, I would like to say thank you to everybody. God bless you as we all enjoy the rest of our day. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We also like to thank you, Mr. Francis Olawale, FCIS, for giving us the vote of thanks and for the support we've received from the ESCO for this program. On this note, of course, I thank profusely my facilitators. I have been back to back with you over the last few weeks, and it has paid off big time. I appreciate your time and your efforts and the paper you put together for this. So as we await information on the next program that the Institute will be hosting, I join the Honorary Treasurer to say, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.